Maayo-ayo gid nga adlaw nga Sabat sa aton tanan nga mga kauturan. Kag ginaabi-abi ko gid ang tagsa-tagsa nga mga tumalan-aw nga nagatutok sa sining aton nga programa nga kung sa diin nagapadayon kita sa pagtuon sa aton nga lesson nga samtang kamo nagatan-aw mga kauturan, mga kabyanan, aton gid mabatyagan ang pagpakig-upod sang balaan nga espiritu. Kung diin makamusubong, I hope that you will be blessed again by this study. And so I would like to invite you to get your papers, your pens, para nga mas mangin exciting pagid ang aton pagtuon. You can write down the things nga kung sa diin makabulig gid sa aton. Labi na gid sinang mga bagay nga you think will be helpful and beneficial para sa imo nga panlakaton upod dira sa kay Ginoong Hesus. And as we usually do, we will start our study this Sabbath with a prayer. So shall we pray? O Dios nga labing balaan kagamhanan sa tanan, nagapasalamat kami Ginoong ikaw gid ang sa gihapon nagabatiti kag nagapahayag sang pagigugma sa imong katawhan. Kag ikaw man ang nagapadayon nga nagasustain sa amon sing kusog kag sing maayong lawas subong man sing kaalam nga langit nun sa paghibalo sang mga butang nga langit nun, mga butang nga balaan. Kag sa sining atak na o Dios amon pagatun-an ang nanungod sang bilidhon sang pagkamaayo sang ining isa kagasa, isa ka dulot nga imo ginhatag sa imong katawhan, kagamoy na siyang nanungod sa Sabbath. Tudloy kami o Dios pinaagi sa balaan nga espiritu. Kag ini amon nga ginapangamuyo kag ginapakiluoy bangod lamang sa pangalan ni Jesus kamo manluluwas. Amen. We are now in lesson 12. Kag sa aton nga lesson 12 mga kauturan, we are talking about a Sabbath, experiencing and living the character of God. So here we see that a Sabbath is not only a means of rest, but Sabbath is also a means of education. Now that's the reason why we have here this whole week, the study of this whole week, nga nanungod siya sa Sabbath because it has something to do with learning or what we call education. Now we'll go to our text for this week's study. Kag makita naton ini mga kauturan dira sa Marcos kapitulo 4 bersikulo Marcos kapitulo 2 bersikulo 27 kag magadiretso kita sa 28. Nagasiling diri mga kauturan Mark 2:27 and 28, and he said to them, the Sabbath was made for men, and not man for the Sabbath. Therefore the Son of Man is also Lord of the Sabbath. So this text is giving an emphasis that the Sabbath is something that was given by God to humanity. That Sabbath was for the benefit of mankind. That Sabbath is something special that God wanted to impart to humanity. Now, mga kauturan, in this study, I want us to really have this kind of thinking that Sabbath is not something that we need to experience. Okay? Sabbath is not something that we need to experience. But Sabbath, or should I say, Sabbath should be something that we want to experience. Kay lain mga kauturan ang panghunahuna kung ining magsiling kita nga kinahanglan gid kag sang panghunahuna nga ini gusto naton. Because when we say we need to experience the Sabbath, then Sabbath becomes a burden. Pero kung magsiling kita nga we want to experience Sabbath, then Sabbath becomes a delight. So that's the difference between the understanding of Sabbath as a need and Sabbath as a want, because we want to experience. So, parehas ang baptism mga kauturan. This is not only something that we need to do, kundi this is something that we want to. In a marriage relationship, mga kauturan, we get married, hindi tungod nga kinahanglanon, kundi tungod nga gusto naton. So, amo na siya ang kinalayan. And gusto gid sang Ginoo mga utod ko kay Kristo nga ang Sabbath mangin delight sa iyang mga katauhan. Nga ini siya mangin isa ka tion nga kung sa diin mabatyagan naton ang katahom, ang kadalumon sang meaning sa ginatawag naton nga Sabbath. Now, at the book of Genesis, chapters 1 and 2, we see here the creation of God. Ang pagtuga sang Ginoo sang bug-os gid nga kalibutan. And if we look at Genesis chapter 1, we see here the details of the creation of the world from the first day up to the sixth day. And then, as we continue reading, in Genesis chapter 2, we see that after God created the world, may ara pagid siya nga ginhimo in order to what? To give sining masiling naton nga mas meaningful nga panguna-una o concept or mas meaningful nga idea sang pagkaimportante sa ginatawag naton nga Sabbath. Now, I would like to invite you to open your Bibles in the book of Genesis, no? Kung may ara ka mo mga kauturan nga mga Biblia dira subong sa Genesis kapitulo 2 sa bersikulo 1 makadto kita sa bersikulo 2 kag sa bersikulo 3. Nagasiling dire, thus the heavens and the earth in all the hosts of them were finished. So you see here that after this creation of God for 6th day, everything was what? Was finished. Okay? Tanan natapos na. Ang tanan nga kasoldadusan dire sang bug-os nga kalibutan natapos ang Ginoo. Now, in verse 2 it says, and on the 7th day, God ended His work. So, God is giving here a marker, no? O kung tanda mga kauturan, sang creation sang Ginoo, no? That from first day to sixth day, God has been creating everything, no, sa sini nga kalibutan. Pero sa ikapito nga adlaw, ang ginhimo niya naguntat na siya sa iyang paghimo, and He rested on the seventh day from all His work which He had done. And in verse 3, then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in it He rested from all His work which God had created and made. Now, looking back again at the daily creation, every day after God finished His work, He was saying, it was very good. And on the seventh day, it was entirely different from the way he was making a statement at the end of the day. But on the seventh day, at the start of the day, God had done something here very important, in that God rested. Not that necessarily, hindi bot silingon mga kauturan nga tungod nga ginlapyo ang Ginoo sa paghimo sa sining nga kalibutan, but because He was able to finish the creation of the entire world. Now, if you look at the book of John chapter 19, nga sang si Ginoong Hesus ara dito sa cross, and He was already done with His work, He made a statement. He said, it is finished. So nakita naton mga kauturan nga in the book of Genesis, in the act of creation, when everything was done and finished, God said, it is done, it is finished, and so He rested. That is in the act of creation. Pagkadto naton mga kauturan dito sa John chapter 19, sang si Ginoong Hesus namatay sa cross, kag na-complete niya ang act of redemption, nagmit lang siya, it is finished, and after that, God rested. So you see here the importance of resting. dira sa mind, sa concept sang Ginoo. Nga kung sa din after sa creation, there was a rest, and after sa plan of redemption, there was a rest, and even in the future, when Jesus Christ will come here, God is giving us a rest. In Hebrews chapter 4, verse 9, therefore, there remains a rest for God's people. So, you see that God wanted us to understand sang kung ano ang buot silingon, ano ang mas madalom nga pangununa sa ginatawag naton nga Sabbath. So, Sabbath actually, sa ginsiling ko ng mga kauturan, is not only about rest, it's not only about a means to stop from our labors, kundi ang Sabbath, mga kauturan, is a way to learn. Amo ni siya ang time nga ginhatag sang Ginoo. Agud nga si Adan kag si Eva maka-experience sang katahom, sang kanamion, sang kadalumon, sang pangunuuna nanungod sang Sabbath. You know, man was created Friday or on the 6th day of the week. And on the 7th day, this was the first full day, okay? This was the first 24 hours nga gin experience ni Adan kag ni Eva nga upod nila ang Ginoo kag ang Ginoo nagpakamaayo sa sini. And in fact, God not only blessed and rested on the 7th day, He also sanctified it. In other words, He made it very special. He made it holy. He separated this day from the other days. And God wanted nga si Adan kag si Eva ila ini matun-an ang value, okay? Ang kabilidhon sang Sabbath nga iyagin pain sa iban nga mga adlaw. And on that day, sa sina nga adlaw, mas makilalan pagid sang aton una nga ginikanan kung ano ang kinaiya sang Ginoo, kung ano ang mga plano o kung tinutuyo sang Ginoo, kung ano ang luyag sang Ginoo nga ilang mabatyagan nga kalipay sa sina nga adlaw. So it was a day of learning, an expected day nga gin-start sa Ginoo sa sinang 7th day, and at the end of the day, it was again another invitation for Adam and Eve to enjoy another Sabbath for the next 7th day. Now, makita natin din mga kauturan nga ining Sabbath, it's not actually a day of burden. Now, last time, I think that was Sabbath afternoon, I had this privilege to talk to a friend, to a person nga maayo man sa ginatawag naton nga pagtuon sa mga balaan nga kasulatan. And I think ari man siya nagatanaw sa aton si Sir Tamaris, no? And we exchanged ideas about the importance of Sabbath. And he mentioned, said, you know, when I speak or gaplano ako nga I want to speak to people about the Sabbath as a privilege, as a freedom, a Sabbath as not a burden, no? Ining kumanghununa kita kung kay sa mga kauturan, especially to the Seventh-day Adventist church members, nga kung mag-istorya gani kita sang Sabbath, ang Sabbath do nahimo nga burden because we do it every 7th day of the week. And then instead that the Sabbath is a happy day, it becomes a burden. And so some people don't like Sabbath, and other people are thinking that Sabbath is not for them. So sa pag-istoryahan namon ni Sir Tamaris, he mentioned something that Sabbath actually is giving us a freedom based on one of the writings also or statement of Daniel Prager. Nga kung sa diin gintagaan dito emphasis mga kauturan ang ginatawag naton nga Sabbath, in which ang Sabbath is not only about what we should do or mga requirements nga dapat naton himuon every 7th day of the week, but this is talking about freedom nga ginhatag sang Ginoo. Amo ni actually ang ginano niya ginhatag kay Adan kay Eva, that they have the freedom to be with God, that they have the freedom to enjoy the creation and to also appreciate the Creator, the power of the Creator, nga ang Creator is able to do everything on this earth. Now, in one of the writings of Daniel Prager or sa isa sa iyang mga ginsulat dito nga statement, nag-mention siya nga, the person or kita nga mga tao has the tendency to really ning mangin workaholic kita nga non-stop pa lang aton yung pagtrabaho, then we become slaves, we become slaves, ginagapos kita sang aton nga mga dapat nga himuon. And so seeing this, God has given this commandment in order to give freedom to the people nga kung sa diin, if you stop from your work, then you're giving yourselves or ang imong kaugalingon sa ginatawag naton nga rest from your daily labor. And he goes on to say nga kung sa din nga kung ikaw manggaranon kag wala ka sang untat sang trabaho, you are slave to work. Kung ikaw ay ari sa middle income nga mga katawhan and you continue to work without stopping, without resting, then you are also slave to work. And if you are poor and if you do not stop working all throughout the week, you are also slave to what? You are also slave to work. So all of us, kung tanaw naton, kung wala kita nag-keep sa Sabbath, are all slaves to work. Ang difference lang, the other one is a rich slaves. Ang isaya, it's a poor slaves or poor slave. Ang ara sa tunga-tunga is a middle income slave. Pero tanan sila slave, and it will only be broken ini nga klase sang slavery if we keep the Sabbath as a delight, not as a burden, but as a delight. And when God was spending time with Adam and Eve dito mga kauturan sa garden sang Eden, God was actually giving an invitation to them that, every time nga mag-abot na ining ginatawag naton nga ikapitong adlaw, we will be studying, we will be learning together, we will be discovering a lot of things. This is actually an invitation sa kay Adan kag kay Eva. Nga pagkasunod naman nga Sabado, magakita na it's a date with God, and we are also receiving the same invitation today, mga kauturan ko. Nga ang Ginoo luya gid nga magpakig angot sa aton, and not only half of the Sabbath, ang aton spend siya. Ang Ginoo, ang invitation niya is that one whole Sabbath day, the 24 hours nga ihatag naton siya sa Ginoo. Aton lang nga mga issues nga na-face subong mga katuran is because of the busyness of this world. That's the reason why we are starting to, to keep the Sabbath not as a full day nga Sabbath worship, pero ginano naton, ginabuhinan pa na siya naton. So actually what God desires is that we will really spend this wonderful whole day Sabbath for learning. Now, kung sa classroom pa mga kauturan, ang time frame na ginahatag sa pagtuon is let's say 1 hour for each subject. Ang ginahimo sang iban at the middle of the class, magwa na sila sa classroom kag hindi na magbalik, and so they miss the other part of the learning. So this is not what God wants us to develop in us sa sinikatapusan ng mga panahon. Nga kung sa din nagagwa kita, or what I am trying to say is we do not spend this whole full day of Sabbath experience with God, nga kung sa din may mga ma-miss kita nga mga pagpakamaayos sang Ginoo. Now, Sabbath is also a time to rediscover, to rediscover. When the Israelites dito sila gin slaves sa Egypt for more than 300 years, the people of Israel had been forced to work even on Sabbath, Ginapatrabaho sila sa adlaw nga Sabado. So every day ang pagwork nila sang under sa leadership or under sa rulership sang Egypt. And when they were taken out and when they were delivered from the hands of the Egyptian people, especially sa kay Pharaoh, sang nakagwa na sila dito, actually God wanted them to rediscover the Sabbath, because for that very long years nga experience nila sa slavery, madamo sila, or maybe we can say almost of them have forgotten about the Sabbath, and so God reminded them sang kaimportante sang ginatawag naton Sabbath. That is how much God loved the people of Israel. He don't want them to what? To remain in the thinking sa ginatawag naton nga kalapyo, kakapoy sa adlaw-adlaw nga bulaton. God wanted them to experience delight on the Sabbath day. That this liberation nga ginhimo sa Ginoo sa ila halin dito sa Egypt is actually giving them the chance to spend that Sabbath experience with God. That God has a good plan para sa ila. And in order to teach them sang ginatawag naton nga importance ng Sabbath, ginhatag niya ni ining mana nga experience, in which if we try to read the book of Exodus, ara dito mga kauturan ang ilang experience nga isa ka adlaw sina pagwa nila nakita nila ang mana sa palibot na tingala sila ano ni siya nga pagkaon, and Moses told them that this is the food that God had provided them. And God had made a very specific instruction that every day they should get only one basket or one serving sang mana for the day. And so those people who were not listening to the instruction, at the end of the day, atong sobrang naging kuha nila, napanos siya. Pag abot sa Friday, ang instruction sa Ginoo is very clear that they should take twice, okay? As much sang adlaw-adlaw nila nga ginakuha. And the people who were not listening again, they were only taking one serving for that day or only good for a day. And pagkaabot ng Sabbath morning, as they used to do, they what? They went out from their tents expecting that they will what? They will see mana, makakita sila sa mana. Pagtanaw nila dito sa sagwa, na-realize nila nga ang Ginoo gali naghatag sila sa instruction nga hindi sila nga dapat magkuha sila sang doble sa Friday kay pagka Sabado wala na sang pag-abot sang mana. Now, makita natin dili nga budlay gid para sa Ginoo ang magpadala sang mana sa Sabbath. Hindi ba lang mahapos mo lang ini mga kauturan? No, that's not the point. The point here is that God wanted them to learn the importance of obedience, following instruction, and at the same time, the importance that this Sabbath day should be spent holy for God. No, amo na ang gusto sang Ginoo nga matabo para sa ila. You know, the falling of the manna, ang paghulog sining mga manna sa kada aga nga kwaon nila, gives them the feeling of anticipation for the coming Sabbath. No? Nagahatag sa feeling sa anticipation that God is providing them their meals, therefore they have nothing to worry about, and they are expecting that God will continue to provide. Even sa Sabbath, nga wala na sang presence ng mana, God is still going to provide them sa Friday pa lang. No? Ginama na sa Ginoo. And after Saturday or the seventh day, pag-abot naman sa first day of the week, they have to what? They have to reflect sang kaayo, sang providence sang Ginoo para sa ila. And so, in the same way, ngang Ginoo nag-invite kay Adam kag kay Eva to spend one whole Sabbath with Him, today God is also inviting us to rediscover the importance of the Sabbath. To rediscover that by keeping the Sabbath, we are also what? We are also following His instruction or His commandments to us. So, this manna experience dito sa wilderness had actually gave Israel this experience of having a strong relationship sa Ginoo kag the feeling of confidence and trust nga gusto sa Ginoo nga ila ma-experiencehan sa sinang manang experience nga pagkaabot sa Friday they have to take twice kay pagka Sabado wala na siya sing mana sa palibot pero gin-provide na sa Ginoo para sa ila. Para nga they will not go out anymore, they will just spend more time with the Lord, no? Ara sa ilang mga tan. Also Sabbath is a time to prioritize, no? It's a time to prioritize. Actually, ang Sabbath is a time element nga klase sang regalo nga ginhatag sa Ginoo because this is a time. And God wanted us to develop this priority in life nga dapat gid naton unahon ang Ginoo. In Isaiah 58, in this chapter, makita naton nga ang Ginoo nagaauhag sa iyang mga katawhan to reconsider sang ilang nga mga priorities. So, other people are fasting, naga-fasting sila, nagapuasa sila, nagapangayo sila sa Ginoo sang pagpakamayo. At the same time, gina-oppress man nila ang mga workers. So you see here, we call this as ang irony, no? Ang irony bala nga kung sa din nagapangayo sila sa Ginoo sa pagpakamayo, pero atong ilang mga workers o ang mga tao nga nagaobra sila, wala nila ginapakamayo, gina-oppress man nila mga kauturan. And also they are oppressing the defenseless. That's from verses 1 to 5. No, nga gina-oppress nila mga defenseless, and God was telling them, this is not how you keep the Sabbath. This is not the way that we should have, this kind of attitude towards other. Nga kanugon lang mga kauturan nga we keep the Sabbath, and then in the other days we are doing our own thing. We should remember those people sa aton. As I've said, as we talk with Sir Tamaris, may mga idea nga na share niya. He brought me to this story of Ruth, in which si Boaz, si Ruth nagkadto siya kay Boaz, and then pagkadto niya kay Boaz, na intindihan ni Boaz nga ining may ara pa nga near kinsman redeemer, mas lapit pagid kumpara kay Boaz. And so amo to nga si Boaz nagpatawag sang meeting dito sa may gate, and then he was telling the nearest kinsman redeemer that if you are going to buy the land, okay, hindi mo gid paglipatan nga opposing land, because ang una ang ilang panguna ang mga asawa is property, so you have to also include Ruth. Pero ang kinsman redeemer is not interested about Ruth, is only interested about the land. Sila nga hindi ko sina. And so after that, gin uba ang sandals, kagin hatag, bali. So amo na ang ilang ang transaction ginpahayag nga ang sandal niya gin take off sang nearest kinsman, no, or sang redeemer, kagin hatag dito kay Boaz, because Boaz was willing to what? Was willing to redeem. Now, this is actually the essence of the passage in the book of Ezekiel chapter 20, in the book of Isaiah, that if you turn away your foot from the Sabbath, so sa aton pa, kung ginapalayo mo ang imong tiil, ining foot, turning, or keeping away your foot from the Sabbath, may arni siya nga relationship dito sa story ni Boaz, in which you are trying to what? You are trying to get off your feet sa sinang imo nga right, no? Ginakuha nimo ang imo nga right. So, this is what God wants us to experience. Nga kung may mga ginuuna kita nga mga rights, ginakuha naton ina siya, kag ginatugyan naton ina siya sa Ginoo, and then Sabbath will become a delight. So, if we are trying to, impose ang aton mga rights dito sa aton sa mga taong iban, sa aton mga nag-work sa aton, or those defenseless, then instead of giving delight to the Lord on the Sabbath day, we are what? We are just making ourselves instead nga gahatag kita pagpalipay sa Ginoo, aton lang kaugalingong ginapalipay naton. This is not actually what? A true Sabbath experience. So God explained that the right approach is the opposite, that we should take care of others sa ibang mga katauhan and help them, those who are in need first, not ourselves first, no? This is keeping our foot away, no? It is not about us, it's not about a right, but it is also about the privilege or benefit of other people for their happiness, and that's the time that we will prosper. So God is telling we have to prioritize. Paano natin siya ma-learn? Through the importance of Sabbath, no? That it is not only about us, it is also about others. And this comes with a call to enjoy the Sabbath in the company of God, leaving ourselves and our business. So muna siya, every time nga mag-come in ang Sabbath, we are not thinking anymore of those gains sang aton nga mga pwede pang mapasulod sa aton nga kagalingon, but we are thinking that this day is the day that I can spend with the Lord, and that this is a day actually nga ang mga tao mabuligan man naton, that we remember them. This is the time actually to do missionary works, no, sa aton nga mga kauturan. Now, if you try to read the story of Jesus in the New Testament, in the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, we see that God or Jesus was spending much time with people, not only on other days, especially on the Sabbath day. And in fact, he was accused of, healing people because he was doing it on the Sabbath day. Pero para sa Ginoo, para kay Ginoo sa mga kauturan, amo ni siyang adlaw nga kung sa diin makahimo siya sang dako nga pagpakamaayo sa mga katawan, because Sabbath is an act of giving freedom, no? Ginapapalayo ang mga katawhan sa Ginoo sa ginatawag naton nga slavery sang selfishness, slavery sang labor naton, slavery sang aton nga mga work nga ginahimo. This is actually a freedom nga ginhatag sa Ginoo. And the Sabbath helps us to put God first and to give everything else in right priority. Matthew 6:33, seek first the kingdom of God. If you are working or if you are in business venture, do kasayang sa isa ka adlaw nga mabuhin sa imo. But mind nyo mga kauturan, sa mga faithful naton nga mga utod, nga mga nagnegosyo, if they stop on the Sabbath day para sa ila, this is a blessing instead of losing, no? May ara iban nga daw ginaisip nila nga kanugon sini. No, this is high time to discover sang aton gid, or not really to discover but to re-prioritize kung ano gid ang dapat ang una. And God's advice for us is we should what? We should prioritize or give Him our first priority in life. Now, Sabbath is also a time to know Him. It's a time that we want to understand who God is. And dito sa daan niya katipan, the law was read and interpreted every Sabbath in the synagogues, and they wanted to understand the will of God better. Even Jesus Christ, as his custom was in Luke chapter 4, that he stood up to read. Nagtindog siya agud sa pagbasa because he wanted to let the people know that he himself is also Lord of the Sabbath. And Jesus actually used his actions and his words to remind the people of the true purpose of Sabbath, that Sabbath was actually a blessing and not as a curse or a burden. So, again, mention ko na kagina, that Sabbath was given by God, especially to the people of Israel, to remind them that because they are His people, gin-liberate sila, and they were given freedom. Sabbath was to be a reminder of this freedom. So, that's why in the book of Exodus, chapter 20, makita naton that the Sabbath here is in reference to the creation of God, referring to the creative power of God, that He created the seventh day because it is a memorial of His creation. Now, if you jump to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 14, makita naton that Sabbath here is referring to the redemption, no? Referring to the liberation of the people of Israel, that they were given the Sabbath because this Sabbath is a reminder that they are what? That they are free from the bondage of the Egyptian power or people. So, we are encouraged to meet the Lord of the Sabbath more intimately on the Sabbath day. So, amo gini ang katuyuan naton subong nga ang Sabbath will be an experience, no? Ini siya mangin aton kaagi, aton gid nga matilawan kung ano ang Ginoo, makilala naton ang Ginoo. At the same time, we live the character of God. Ginakabuhi naton ang character sa Ginoo. Because God rested on the Sabbath day, we also rest. No? Because God blessed the Sabbath day, we keep the seventh day because we are blessed also. No? And God sanctified the Sabbath day, we are keeping the Sabbath day because we are what? We are also making ourselves holy before God on the Sabbath day. But it does not mean that on the other days we are not holy anymore.
Sabbath day is just a what? It's just a reminder that we have to live a holy life all throughout the week. So, we learn here that Sabbath is a time to what? To learn about God. Sabbath is a time to know about God. Sabbath is a time to make a priority or to know our priority. And also, Sabbath is a time to rediscover sang plano o kung purpose ng Ginoo. And Sabbath, finally, is also a time to share. No? This is a time to share in which we do not only experience Sabbath on our own, pero tungod ng experience natin kung ano ang katahom sa Sabbath, we also what? We also share this to others. Now, the first Christian group in the New Testament, especially in the city of Antioch, they were gathering, they were meeting, and they were sharing this gospel during the Sabbath meetings ng ilagin himo. And they were proving and they were quoting scriptures and sharing their personal testimonies during Sabbath. So in other words, during Sabbath is the time to share who God is. It's not about learning only God, nga kita lang nakabalo, wala na si nakabalong iban, but this is also a time to share what we have learned from God through our Sabbath experience, mga kauturan. Amo na ang opportunity naton nga mapakigbahin naton ang Ginoong sang ato na hibaluan nanungod sa iya kag sa pagkaimportante sang Sabbath halin sa balaan nga kasulatan sa panahon sa ating mga Sabbath school classes. Amo na mga utod nga hindi nyo pag-imiss ang Sabbath school class naton. No, sa atong iglesia, kaya ang iban ara lang sa divine service, ang Sabbath school wala na nila ginaatinan. Pero mga utod, sa Sabbath school diraan mo ang panahon nga makashare kita sang kung ano ang Ginoo sa aton kabuhi nagpakamayo sa bilog nga semana, and on that Sabbath hindi lamang kita ang na-bless kundi ang iban man na-bless. Mga utod, if I am inside the church kung makabati ko sa mga testimony, nagaka-bless, happy gay ko mga kauturan nga. Makita ginakon nga ina siya nga tao ginpakamayo. So ako man nga nagapamati ginapakamayo man. So it's a time actually to what? It's a time to share. Pero hindi lang nato ni siya pagimoon during sa time nga naga-divine service, naga-istoryahan ka mga duwa samtang may tao nga naga-istorya. We do this sharing the Sabbath school, no? Amo nang aton nga time nga maka-share kita sang pagkilala naton sa Ginoo. And after the Sabbath worship, we can share again the love of God to those people, to our visitors around us. And this is our opportunity. And mga utod, if we understand this Sabbath concept in light of siling naton nga it's a delight, Sabbath would be a different experience for all of us. This is one of the institutions God established at the very beginning because this kind of institution nga gin-establish ng Ginoo, nakita niya nga ini para gid sa kayuhan sa tao. That's why in Mark 2:27 and 28 that Sabbath was really made for man. That Sabbath was a gift for humanity because this will give a delight to His people. Now, another, it's also a sign, no? It's a sign in Ezekiel chapter 20 verses 12 and 20 that this is a sign between God and His people. That through this sign, makilalan kung iya bagi kita sa Ginoo o kung hindi kita iya sang Ginoo. No, mga utod, Sabbath is one of our fundamental doctrines or very important doctrines of the church today. Unfortunately, Satan is twisting this idea that Sabbath becomes a burden. No? Nga Sabbath is something that do dreaded bala mga kauturan, do hindi naton gusto nga maabot. Pero kung maintindihan naton kung ano ang tinutuyo sa Ginoo sang Sabbath, that Sabbath was really made for man, nga ini kita mangin malipayon sa adlaw nga Sabado, we will embrace this. This is not something we need to. This is something that we want to. Nga at the end of the week, we are excited mga kauturan nga makapag-istorya naman kita, makig-upod naman kita sa Ginoo, na maka-spend time kita sa Ginoo. No, amo na nga mga utod bisan diin kamo subong sa sining adlaw nga Sabado, let's develop that attitude of happy, positive experience because Sabbath is a delight for humanity. And imagine mga kauturan kung diri pa lang do natak-an na kita sang Sabbath, pag abot dito sa langit, ang Sabbath ara man gyapon. That's why this is not something we need to. This is something that we want to, because if we want to, there is this happiness to what? To keep the Sabbath. Unfortunately, many, o damo sa atong mga kauturan, nga pag-abot sa Biyernes, masilang, lapit ng Sabado, hindi na, you cannot do your work anymore, you cannot accomplish all our tasks. So, ang priority naton medyo nadula. So, pag-abot sa Sabbath, let the Sabbath change your concept, your mindset that this is for the Lord, I have to spend it for the Lord, and that through this Sabbath experience, I will also be benefited. Mangin maayo ang akong panghunauna, and I'll be ready for the next week sa mga bulhaton naton. Now, to end with, I would like to read this passage here sa aton nga lesson mga kauturan, silang dire, no other institution which was committed to the Jews tended so fully to distinguish them from surrounding nations as did the Sabbath. Ang Sabbath is to distinguish the Jewish community, the Jewish nation from other nations. Because they are Sabbath keepers, nagapahayag lang ini that they are what? They are God's people. So anyone who is keeping the Sabbath, naga-identify sa iyang kagalingon nga iya sa sang Ginoo. Siling diri, God designed that its observance should designate them as His worshipers. That's why if you go to the book of Revelation chapter 14, 6 to 12, the three angels' messages is talking all about Sabbath. It's about worship, in which ang components ng Sabbath naton nga experience with God, ari diri ang ginatawag naton nga worship. Naka-incorporate diri ang worship. And it was to be a token of their separation from idolatry and their connection with the true God. But in order to keep the Sabbath holy, men must themselves be holy. Dapat, if we want to really understand God, hindi lang sa understanding kita asta, kundi bisan pa dito sa applications ang holiness niya, aton man nga ikabuhi. And through faith, they must become partakers of the righteousness of Christ. When the command was given to Israel, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy, the Lord is saying to them, ye shall be holy men unto me. And the Sabbath, the Sabbath is an avenue that we will be able to live a holy life in the presence of God. So, as they continue to keep the Sabbath holy, the Sabbath experience will lead the people of Israel to worship God, and this worshiping of God will lead them to follow His instructions, to have a stronger and intimate relationship with Him. Thus, they become God's worshipers, and the sign between God and His people is established by keeping the Sabbath, mga kauturan. Silindre, nyan ang Sabbath is a sign of Christ's power to make us holy. Ang Sabbath tanda sang gawom sa Ginoo nga sarang niya nga himuon ang aton kabuhi nga mga balaan. Nga ini siya, ang Sabbath has a sanctifying power nga sarang nga magpain sa aton sa mga katawan, sa atong kalibutan. That's why mga utod ko, if you look at the world is worshiping on the other day sa aton nga ginasimba. And to them, we look like abnormal, Okay, ang whole world dyan nagasimba sa first day of the week. Pero kita nagasimba sa seventh day of the week. So, we look abnormal to them, but in the sight of God, we are normal because this is a sign that we are His people and God is our God. So, mga kauturan, kabay pa nga ato niya pagtuon subong, dulong gid sa sinang realization, a recognition that Sabbath is something that we have to embrace because we want to experience Sabbath in our lives. We want to experience the holiness of God in our lives through keeping the Sabbath. And Sabbath, I tell you, will become a delight for all of us. Madamo gid nga salamat mga kauturan sa inyong pagpakig-upod sa aton nga pagtuon subong adlaw. And I hope that all of us will have that blessed experience, starting this Sabbath day, we will have that blessed experience to really spend time with God because we want to meet God, because God is inviting us and we have a date with our God. God bless everyone, and we will end our study with a prayer. Magapangamuyo kita. O Dios nga labing balaan, kagamhanan sa tanan, madamo gid nga salamat nga sa siniamon nga pagtuon sa buong nakita namon nga ang Sabbath is something that we want to experience. Sabbath is something that we want to live the character of God. nga ang Sabbath o Dios amo ni siya ang imo ginhatag sa amon, ginhimo para sa mga katawan, agod nga makita nga kami ginpain sa sining kalibutan, mga katawhan nga balaan tungod nga imo ginpakabalaan pinaagi sa sining adlaw nga Sabado. Ginoo, amon ginapangamuyo nga tani sugod subong nga tinion upod sang balaan nga espiritu nga magagahom sa amon ma-experiensyahan ang matudtuod nga konsepto pangununa sang Sabbath. That Sabbath is a delight. This is not a burden, O God. This is something that we have to anticipate. This is something that we have to be excited because this is your invitation. Kag ini mga Ginoo magatudo sa amon nga ang Sabbath is a special occasion. This is a day in which you instituted at the very beginning nga magapanungdom sa imong katawan nga ang amon Ginoo is a powerful, creative, artistic God and a God who wanted us to experience rest nga magpuway sa amon ng mga bulaton kag dapat himuon sa isa ka semana. Thank you, God, Ginoo, nga ikaw nagpamati sa amon pakiluoy subong nga takna kag ikaw man magapakamayo sa among makauturan subong nga nagatutok sa sining among programa. Kabay nga ikaw di magpahamulag sa amon, tubtub nga ikaw magapahayag sa sining nga duta. Salamat o Dios nga ikaw ginapamati sa amon pangamuyo. Ginatugyan naman ini tanan sa pangalan ni Jesus nga manluluwas. Amen. God bless everyone and have a wonderful Sabbath experience with the Lord.